Welcome back to our channel, where we uncover the untold stories of Hollywood's greatest icons. Today, we're diving into the life of Bob Hope, a man whose name is synonymous with comedy, charm, and patriotism. Known for his razor-sharp wit and boundless energy, Hope was more than just a performer. He was a cultural phenomenon, entertaining millions on stage, in films, and through countless television specials. Yet, as with many stars of his caliber, there was more to his story than what met the eye. Beneath the polished veneer of jokes and philanthropy lay a complex individual, a man whose private life often contrasted sharply with his public persona. In this video, we'll peel back the layers of Bob Hope's carefully crafted legacy. We'll explore the darker, lesser-known chapters of his life, moments of controversy, scandal, and heartbreak that reveal a figure far more complicated than the wholesome family man the world adored. Childhood Bob Hope was born Leslie Towns Hope in London in 1903, hardly the punchy name we remember today. In fact, he earned the nickname Bob after classmates teased him by calling him Hope Leslie, which they twisted into hopeless. As one of 7 sons, Hope came from humble origins. His father worked as a stonemason, and his mother had once been an opera singer, a background that probably helped spark Hope's flair for performance. Seeking a better life, the family packed their bags in 1908 and sailed to the United States, joining the wave of immigrants chasing the American dream. Right from the start, Hope knew what it meant to hustle for a living. To support his family, he tried everything from hawking snacks to busking on the streets. It was a tough way to scrape by, but those early experiences sharpened his wit and gave him a streetwise charm that would later become his signature. Despite the hardships, he remained determined to make people laugh, working out small comic routines wherever he could, on street corners, in local shows, or even in front of neighbors curious enough to watch. This innate ability to captivate an audience, coupled with his unshakable ambition, set the stage for Hope's eventual rise to stardom. Early career and rise to fame. Bob Hope was famous for his love of golf. He was one of the few Hollywood stars who can say he beat Tiger Woods in a round of golf. Sounds impressive, right? Well, there's a catch. Tiger Woods was a toddler at the time. Back in 1978, Hope and the soon-to-be golf legend appeared together on the Mike Douglas Show. Woods was just 2 years old, but even then, his talent was undeniable. Of course, Hope couldn't resist poking fun at the situation. But hey, a win's a win, right? But golf wasn't the only sport Hope was passionate about. Here's something you might not know. Bob Hope had a surprisingly rough and tumble side. As a teenager, he decided to step into the boxing ring under the professional name Packy East. With a golden smile that would one day earn him an honorary Oscar, Hope managed to rack up 3 wins and only 1 loss. Not bad for a guy who spent most of his life making people laugh instead of throwing punches. While he idolized Charlie Chaplin like many others, Hope went further by entering and winning a Chaplin look-alike contest. His life changed dramatically while he was working as a lineman clearing trees. While earning money for his family, Bob teamed up with one of his brothers as a linesman, clearing fallen branches from power lines. That's when disaster nearly claimed his life. One day, perched high in a tree, he suddenly felt it begin to tip over. Though he managed to hang on just enough to avoid a fatal plunge, he wasn't spared from injury. When Bob hit the ground, he shattered his most valuable asset, his face, and blacked out, only regaining consciousness in the hospital. His injuries were so severe that the staff kept all mirrors away from him for 3 full weeks. In a strange twist, however, that accident turned out to be a blessing in disguise. After reconstructive surgery, his face ended up even more striking than before. Spurred by this unexpected stroke of luck, Bob set his sights on a showbiz career with unwavering determination. He dropped out of school believing it held him back, and quickly made a name for himself as a vaudeville dancer. Before long, big names like the comedian Fatty Arbuckle showed up to watch his performances. Hollywood soon came knocking, but the initial reception wasn't exactly the dream introduction Bob had hoped for. His shows attracted attention from notable figures like comedian Fatty Arbuckle. Hope's early Hollywood debut in Going Spanish, 1934, was a disaster. After his initial flop in Going Spanish, Hope didn't sulk. Instead, he honed his skills, performing live radio shows where his sharp wit thrived. It was here that Bob Hope became the household name we remember today. After that, he rose to fame in the 1940s with films like The Road to Singapore, alongside Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour. While filming Road to Singapore, Bob Hope might have had just a little too much fun. One day he kicked off a massive soap fight with his co-stars Bing Crosby and Dorothy Lamour. Sure, they had a blast in the moment, but the director was absolutely furious because cleaning up that soapy mess and redoing everyone's costumes and makeup ended up taking the crew hours. Definitely not what the studio had planned for the day. In another behind-the-scenes look at the filming Road to Utopia, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby found themselves in a scene that involved a supposedly tame bear. Now, you'd think working with a trained animal would be a breeze, right? Well, things went off the rails almost immediately. The bear was supposed to lie down calmly next to Hope, creating a light-hearted comedic moment. But instead of cooperating, the bear started snorting and growling at him. Understandably, both Hope and Crosby were spooked. They flat out refused to return to the set with the bear, no matter how much the trainer insisted it was safe. And as it turned out, their instincts were spot on. The very next day, the same bear attacked its trainer, tearing his arm apart in a horrific incident. It's a chilling reminder of how unpredictable working with animals on set can be, even when they're trained. Hope and Crosby's comedic timing might have been legendary, but in this case, their survival instincts were even sharper. This wasn't the first time Hope found himself in an unpredictable situation, nor would it be the last. His quick wit and ability to think on his feet, whether facing a growling bear or handling unexpected live audience reactions, became defining traits throughout his career. Moments like these weren't just about survival. They showcased his unique blend of humor and resilience, traits that made him a legend both on and off the screen. Friendship with Bing Crosby, Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, two of Hollywood's brightest stars, shared a relationship that was as complex as it was legendary. Their names became synonymous with laughter and camaraderie, thanks to their unforgettable performances in the Road to Film series. But beyond the glamour of the silver screen lay a nuanced friendship, marked by both deep respect and underlying tensions. Their professional partnership was pure gold. Starting with Road to Singapore in 1940, Hope and Crosby's comedic timing and undeniable chemistry lit up the screen, earning them a place in Hollywood history. Audiences loved their quick-witted banter, playful rivalries, and impeccable ability to poke fun at each other, often improvising lines that left even their directors in stitches. Together, they defined a genre of comedy that remains timeless. However, behind the laughter was a friendship far from perfect. Both men were ambitious, driven, and intensely competitive. This rivalry was evident not just in their careers, but in their personal lives. Hope and Crosby often tried to outdo one another, whether in box office numbers, radio ratings, or even golf scores, something they both loved and often joked about. Yet their bond ran deeper than the occasional tensions. They respected each other's talents immensely and shared countless private moments of camaraderie. Hope, known for his sharp humor and quick comebacks, often credited Crosby's smooth charm and easygoing nature as a perfect counterbalance to his own personality. Crosby, in turn, admired Hope's tireless work ethic and generosity, especially in his USO tours supporting troops overseas. The complexities of their relationship came to light when Crosby passed away unexpectedly in 1977. Hope, who often hid his emotions behind humor, was visibly shaken. His devastation was palpable, a testament to the profound impact Crosby had on his life. In later interviews, Hope admitted that losing Crosby felt like losing a part of himself, a rare glimpse into the softer, more vulnerable side of the legendary comedian. The story of Hope and Crosby is one of contrasts, humor and heartache, rivalry and respect. Their partnership was more than just a professional collaboration. It was a lifelong connection that, despite its ups and downs, left an indelible mark on Hollywood and on each other. Marriage and scandals. Bob Hope was one of Hollywood's most iconic comedians, but behind his infectious smile and quick wit lay a complicated love life that continues to intrigue fans. From his short-lived first marriage to his long and enduring relationship with Dolores Reed, Hope's romantic escapades reveal a man torn between his public persona as a devoted family man and a private life riddled with infidelity. In 1933, Hope married Louise Troxell, a fellow performer on the vaudeville circuit. Their union, however, was short-lived. The pressures of showbiz and Hope's growing fame likely played a role in their split, but infidelity reportedly sealed their fate. Troxell, overshadowed by Hope's larger-than-life personality and ambition, left quietly, and their marriage was dissolved not long after. Enter Dolores Reed, the woman who would become Hope's lifelong partner. Hope met Dolores, a nightclub singer, shortly after his first marriage ended. Their connection was immediate, and by 1934, Hope claimed they were married, though official records of their union remain elusive. Dolores was often described as the anchor in Hope's whirlwind life, a woman of grace and strength who managed to endure his well-known flaws. Despite his carefully curated image as a devoted husband and father, Hope's personal life was far from spotless. Throughout his career, rumors of affairs swirled, and many of them were substantiated. Bob Hope and Dolores shared a long-lasting marriage that spanned nearly 70 years, during which they raised 4 adopted children: Linda, Anthony, Nora, and Kelly. Each child grew up largely away from the public eye, as Bob and Dolores made efforts to shield their family life from the spotlight. Despite Hope's busy schedule and countless professional commitments, his children often described him as a loving, albeit occasionally absent, father. Linda, the eldest, pursued a career behind the scenes in television production, frequently working on projects related to her father's legacy. Anthony, also known as Tony, explored various ventures in business and entertainment. Nora and Kelly followed more private paths, focusing on their own personal interests and families. Bob's children have often spoken about the unique experience of growing up with a father who was both a comedy icon and a global celebrity. While they cherish their memories of him at home, they also admired his tireless dedication to entertaining audiences around the world. His legacy, they say, wasn't just about his career. It was also about the values of resilience and generosity he passed on to his family. Dolores, for her part, never publicly spoke ill of her husband, instead focusing on her family and charitable work. In the end, it's Dolores who emerges as the hero of this story, a woman who, despite the challenges, maintained her dignity and played a vital role in shaping Hope's legacy. Their partnership, though far from perfect, endured the tests of time, fame, and scandal, offering a glimpse into the complexities of love and forgiveness in the face of imperfection. Another long-term relationship that drew public attention was with Marilyn Maxwell, a sultry actress and singer. Maxwell frequently accompanied Hope on his USO tours, sparking widespread speculation. Their chemistry was undeniable, and many insiders believed their relationship went beyond mere friendship. Despite Dolores's awareness of these dalliances, she chose to remain in the marriage, possibly out of love, loyalty, or an understanding of the man she had committed to. One of Hope's most infamous relationships was with Doris Day, a good girl. According to Hope, the two shared a fiery fling while touring together for charity in 1949, but before their romance could truly take off, it came to an abrupt and rather awkward end. After wrapping up their charitable efforts, Hope and Day returned to California, only to be met with an unwelcome surprise. Waiting for Hope at the airport, arms wide open for a warm and heartfelt embrace, was none other than his wife, Dolores Reed. Day, realizing the gravity of the situation, saw that affectionate gesture for what it truly was, a clear reminder of Hope's commitment to someone else. Feeling the sting of reality, she quietly stepped back, bringing their whirlwind romance to an unceremonious halt. Over the years, several of his romantic partners met untimely and heartbreaking ends, casting a shadow over the comedian's life and legacy. One of the most notable examples is Barbara Payton, an actress whose life was marked by both brilliance and chaos. Payton, known for her striking beauty and promising career, became involved with Hope early in her Hollywood journey. Their affair was reportedly brief but intense. Unfortunately, Payton's career took a sharp downward spiral due to substance abuse and tumultuous personal choices. By 1967, at just 39 years old, she passed away from heart and liver failure, linked to years of alcohol and drug abuse. Her tragic fall from grace remains one of Hollywood's most cautionary tales. Then there was Ursula Halloran, whose connection to Hope was less publicized, but no less significant. Halloran, a socialite and occasional actress, also struggled with addiction. She died of a drug overdose under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind a cloud of speculation. While her relationship with Hope was fleeting, it was enough to draw attention to the darker side of his personal life and the company he kept. Perhaps the most haunting story is that of Rosemary Franklin, the stunning Miss World, 1961. Franklin was reportedly involved with Hope for several years, with rumors suggesting she was one of his longest-standing romantic partners outside his marriage. Despite her glamorous appearance and global fame, Franklin battled inner demons. In 2000, at the age of 57, she died from a drug overdose in her Los Angeles apartment. Her death shocked those who remembered her as a symbol of beauty and elegance, further highlighting the fragility of life behind the glitz of Hollywood. These tragedies, while not directly tied to Hope's actions, added an unsettling layer to his legacy. Critics and fans alike speculated whether the pressure of being connected to such a high-profile figure contributed to the struggles these women faced. Was it mere coincidence, or did the intensity of life in Bob Hope's orbit magnify the challenges they already carried? For Hope, these losses remained largely unaddressed in public. Known for his quick wit and charm, he rarely allowed glimpses of vulnerability or remorse, keeping much of his personal life tightly guarded. Yet the stories of Barbara Payton, Ursula Halloran, and Rosemary Franklin linger as sobering reminders of the darker realities, often hidden behind Hollywood's golden facade. Hope's affairs, however, didn't seem to tarnish his image as much as one might expect. His charm, humor, and relentless dedication to entertaining troops during World War II and beyond earned him a level of adoration that eclipsed the scandals. What makes Bob Hope's love life so fascinating is its duality. On one hand, he was a man of immense talent, generosity, and public appeal. On the other, he was deeply flawed, struggling to balance his personal desires with his responsibilities as a husband and father. Bob Hope's romantic life serves as a reminder that even the most beloved icons are human, grappling with contradictions and flaws. His story is one of laughter, love, and ultimately, the enduring strength of a partnership that defied the odds. Even long after most men had retired to their rocking chairs in a quiet retirement community, Bob Hope was still chasing romance. In his 80s, the legendary comedian struck up yet another affair. This time, it wasn't with one of the glamorous showgirls he was known for. Instead, he set his sights on one of his music writers, Sandy Vinger. But here's the kicker. By then, Hope had clearly lost some of his charm. Let's face it, he was a married man, a father of 4, and, well into his senior years. Unsurprisingly, his relationship with Vinger didn't last long. However, things didn't exactly end on a friendly note. After their breakup, Vinger filed a lawsuit against Hope, claiming he had promised to support her financially for the rest of her life. The case never made it to court as they reached a settlement behind closed doors. It's a wild chapter in Hope's life that proves one thing. Whether it was on stage or in his personal life, Bob Hope always knew how to make an exit with a bang. Career highlights. There is a story about Bob during World War II, but it is still unconfirmed. During World War II, Hope was performing a USO show near a snowed-in military base when disaster struck. A delivery truck carrying gifts for the troops broke down. Not one to let morale dip, Hope reportedly rallied his crew, commandeered a sleigh from a nearby farm, and personally delivered the presents while dressed as Santa Claus. The sight of Hope, bundled up and cracking jokes through the snow, became the stuff of legend, at least among the soldiers who swore it really happened. Throughout his career, Hope became synonymous with comedy and entertainment. He performed for troops through the United Service Organizations, USO, from World War II to the 1990s, earning honorary veteran status from Congress. He also hosted the Academy Awards 19 times, delivering iconic one-liners like Oscar, or, as he's known at my house, The Fugitive. Bob Hope was a man dedicated to one mission, bringing laughter and joy to the brave men and women serving in the military. But here's something you might not know. When Hope toured with his fellow performers for the USO, he had one strict, unusual rule: no crying in front of the troops. This rule applied even when they visited soldiers in the hospital. Hope believed it was his duty to keep spirits high, no matter how dire the situation. However, one day, something extraordinary happened that forced him to break his own rule. While visiting injured soldiers in a hospital, Hope walked past the bed of a soldier who had been in a coma for months. Suddenly, as if by some miracle, the soldier opened his eyes, looked straight at Hope, and exclaimed, "Hey, Bob Hope, when did you get here?" The moment was so overwhelming that Hope couldn't hold back his emotions. Tears streamed down his face as he quickly left the room, making sure the soldier wouldn't see him cry. It was a rare, vulnerable moment for a man who built his career and his legacy on bringing smiles to others. But while Hope had a tender side, he wasn't exactly a soft touch in Hollywood. Behind the scenes, he had a reputation for being relentless when it came to his work. For example, he had a tough requirement for his comedy writers. They were expected to deliver 20 jokes a day, 5 days a week, straight to his home. And if a writer failed to deliver for 2 consecutive weeks, Hope wouldn't hesitate to fire them on the spot, no second chances. On one hand, Bob Hope was a symbol of kindness and joy, someone who could lift the spirits of troops in the darkest of times. On the other, he was a demanding professional, pushing everyone around him to meet his high standards. Bob Hope's life was full of contradictions. He was a man who could bring the house down with laughter, shed tears over a miracle, and still demand excellence in every aspect of his career. Bob Hope, one of the most beloved entertainers of the 20th century, never won an Oscar. In fact, he never even got a nomination. Hard to believe, right? Especially considering he hosted the Academy Awards a ridiculous 19 times. One year, during one of his many hosting gigs, Hope decided to take a sharp jab at his Hollywood friends. Standing on that iconic stage, he quipped, "We're all here to celebrate Oscar," or as he's known at my house, the fugitive. Classic Hope, always turning the joke back on himself even when Hollywood overlooked his talent. But let's face it, Hope didn't really need an Oscar to cement his fame. He was so famous that he once joked the only place he could walk around unnoticed was in the People's Republic of China. And even there, someone recognized him from one of his pre-revolution films, no less. And speaking of fame, Bob Hope's popularity was so massive that people often suggested he run for president. While Nancy Reagan famously called him America's favorite clown, Hope never took the idea seriously. He once joked, "I thought about it, but my wife said she didn't want to move to a smaller house." But just because Hope never aimed for the White House didn't mean he stayed away from politics entirely. In 1948, when Harry S. Truman shocked the nation by winning re-election, Hope sent him a telegram with one simple yet iconic word of advice: unpack. For a comedian like Bob Hope, late-night talk shows were the ultimate stage, a place to test out new material and promote his latest films. To make things even easier, NBC Hope's home network gave him an open invitation to drop by The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson anytime he wanted. Sounds like a great deal, right? Well, not exactly. Hope took NBC up on their offer with gusto, appearing on The Tonight Show a lot. And here's where it gets awkward. Hope often recycled old scripted jokes and avoided the natural banter that Carson was famous for. Over time, even Johnny Carson, known for his patience and quick wit, grew tired of Hope's rigid appearances. In fact, Carson once confessed that Bob Hope was his least favorite guest to have on the show, and things only got worse as Hope aged. By the 1980s, his health was declining, and it became clear during his appearances. In fact, Carson once confessed that Bob Hope was his least favorite guest to have on the show, and things only got worse as Hope aged. By the 1980s, his health was declining, and it became clear during his appearances. He struggled to hear Carson's questions, forcing the quick-thinking host to rely on scripted notes provided by Hope's team. The exchanges were painfully awkward, and Carson wasn't one to hide his frustration. After one particularly disastrous episode, Carson famously snapped at his writers, "If I ever end up like that, I want you to shoot me." It's a brutal moment in late-night history, but it also highlights just how tough showbiz can be, even for legends like Bob Hope. Death and legacy. Bob Hope's passing on July 27, 2003, due to pneumonia, just 1 month shy of his 101st birthday, was the end of an era for both Hollywood and the nation. Even as he neared his final days, he never lost that signature wit that had defined his public persona for decades. When his wife reportedly asked where he wanted to be buried, he responded with a mischievous "surprise me," reminding everyone that humor truly was his lifeblood right up to the very end. What's fascinating is how his death shone a spotlight on the magnitude of his achievements. He had done it all, starring in classic films, hosting the Academy Awards a record 19 times, touring tirelessly to entertain U.S. troops around the world, and becoming synonymous with the very idea of show business. All the while, he courted controversy with his affairs and earned a reputation for relentless ambition behind the scenes, things that, in his later years, were overshadowed by his iconic status in American entertainment. His funeral was a mix of reflection and celebration. Celebrity friends, military personnel, and everyday fans alike came together to pay their respects to a man whose work he had spanned vaudeville, radio, television, and film. Whether people remember him for his comedic brilliance, his dedication to the troops, or his scandal-ridden private life, there's no denying Bob Hope left a mark that few others can match. In the end, that final quip of "surprise me" was more than just a joke. It was a fittingly playful curtain call for a performer who had spent a century bringing laughter to millions. Comedian Steve Martin once said, "Hope's humor wasn't just a laugh, it was a lifeline for so many during hard times." And perhaps that's the best way to remember him. Bob Hope's journey offers a complex portrait of ambition, genius, and human frailty. Whether you see him as a groundbreaking entertainer who selflessly supported the troops, or as a deeply flawed individual with a scandal-ridden personal life, there's no denying Bob Hope's imprint on 20th century American culture. His story stands as both a testament to the incredible opportunities Hollywood bestows and a cautionary tale about the pitfalls that come with fame. Ultimately, Bob Hope remains an icon, forever remembered for his comic genius and just as indelibly for the unsettling scandals that trailed behind him. That's all for today's news. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so we can bring you more stories.